seen one with the locks. Beautiful.
As long as I close the door and stare out the window.
Are we on at 7? Okay.
Okay, Pokey, you're gonna do the
I'll
introduction.
introduce this and roll this in,
Okay.
and then you can follow real quick. We'll go at, I don't know, 7:53 or 4, and start doing our announcements.
I'm gonna let these guys talk.
Yeah.
Then I'll
Looks like
chime
the
in
lawyer
with them.
types in on it, huh?
Are you a lawyer?
Yep.
I didn't know. Where'd you go?
I was about to ask you that because you just had PhD there, not JD.
It's chemistry. Physics and chemistry is my PhD.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why
You
she
didn't
talks
go,
about the
you didn't
water
go to
all
law
the time.
school?
No.
And they let you argue your case?
I'm
That's what had me
We're
confused.
on.
I said, she's pro, she must.
Oh, we on?
We're
Oh,
on.
we're there. Hello.
Hello, folks. Okay, Laura Pressley, appreciate you coming on, ma'am.
Thank you for
Of
having
course, you
me.
know everybody else. I guess you've been watching it all. Mike Lee, Marilyn Jackson.
Hi, everyone.
And if you don't know who I am, consider yourself fortunate, I guess. I don't know. Maybe consider me fortunate.
Trailer Park Show, Austin, Texas.
Here we go.
Yes, yes.
I understand you have been to the Court of Appeals.
Yes.
We're going to go into a lot of voting stuff tonight, I imagine, and some of what happened at the convention.
Yeah.
And if we got any extra time, I'd like to hear what you think is going to happen in the conventions.
Oh, the
But
national.
that's, yeah,
Yeah.
I think both of them are going to be a circus, inside and out. But we'll get into all that later. So go ahead, jump on in here and tell us what,
Laura, tell us, what have you been doing?
Oh, we've
we'll
We
start
wanna,
with that.
what have you been doing?
We've been really busy. You know, ran for city council back in 2014, and we have found some serious irregularities with our city council election. That was we were in the runoff with I think about 8 or 9 other candidates across the city. And what we found was, you know, the results we just did not believe. And I know I won that election. I mean, from all the polling that we did and the block walking and phone banking that I personally did and talked to voters. And we had electioneers at every single polling location on election night, and they were giving us, you know, you got this, Laura, everything's good to go, good. And then the results come in, and my opponent, Mr. Kassar, has supposedly won 2-1. And that just does not make sense at all. So what we said, there's just a problem here. Let's take a look at what could have happened, and we asked for a recount. And when we went to Travis County, you know, there's a list of laws that govern how elections are supposed to be conducted in the state of Texas. You just can't do whatever heck you want to do in an election.
You take all the fun out of it.
In the state, well, you take all the fun out. You do in the state of Texas. You know, who knew? So we expected Travis County to be following the law to the letter, and that's not what happened. So we did the recount, and they could not produce what's legally required to do a recount, which are ballots. They couldn't produce those. And by the way, they didn't have the results tapes to show what the election results were. Those are required by law too. And then what we found in our lawsuit, there were corruption errors on the main counting computer on election night. And is that what you want to see on the main counting computer?
Wow.
Can I stop you just a minute?
Yes, sir.
You say corruption errors, you mean like computer
Computer.
malfunctions?
Well, we don't know really what happened. All we have is an audit log that shows on election night, 9 times there were corrupt mobile ballot boxes, which are the memory cards. You've been a precinct judge, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You know those memory cards that you have to turn into the county?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, those cards are put into the main computer down at the main counting office in one main computer, and they had corruption errors on them. And we don't know where the cards came from. The computer didn't recognize them.
Somebody's pocket maybe, huh?
Who knows where it is? And we had some poll watchers down there the last primary, and they had these memory cards strewn about all over the office.
You're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that. You gotta have some security here, right?
Wow.
And we had audit logs also that showed that these memory cards were logged in on like 11/21, November 21st, and weren't logged out till 10 days later on December 1st. So where were they for 10 days? So those are questions we had in our lawsuit. So you've got no tape, you've got no ballot image, which is supposed to be legally required to do a recount in the state of Texas, and then the tabulation is corrupted. So that's basically our lawsuit. And so our intent here is to show that the legal system in Travis County, the legal system of Texas is to be held up by Travis County, and they're supposed to follow law. And when you don't, there are consequences. And so, the only ballots that remained in our election were the paper mail-in ballots, which were exactly tied 50%, 50%, exactly, 240 to 240. And those are the only ballots that remain in our election. So here we are. We're at this election contest, and we are currently in the appeals court. And we had our oral argument about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Mike, I think you were there.
Yes, I was
You were
there.
there. So the judges asked some excellent questions. We had about 100 people there in the courtroom, and about 10 counties were represented. Because I've been going around the state talking about these election issues, and what we found out after the fact, after all this has been occurring in Travis County and our case, we found out these issues are going all over the state of Texas.
Wow.
It's not just in Travis County. So, I think there's been a lot of lackadaisy attitude across the state with our elections, and we can't have that.
No, we can't.
We can't have it. So that's in a nutshell what's going on, and we're waiting on the appeals court to make a decision.
Okay, so when the appeal courts make their decision, and if that decision is in your favor, does that mean there's going to be a runoff?
Well, that's a great question. There's a lot of things the appeals court could do, and Mike, you know this. There's a lot of different opinions that they could be broad or they could be very narrow. The main thing is we want to go back to the trial court and finish the case and get the evidence that we feel we're due, because the judge cut us off from evidence and then ruled we had a no evidence summary judgment. He ruled for that. And so the court could just kick us back to the trial court, and or the opponent could actually appeal up to the Texas Supreme Court if they don't get their way.
Now, trying to make this kind of plain
We done lost me here
for
somewhere.
normal people,
Yes, sir.
you said that your case was cut off before you completed discovery, as we call it in the law. That is when you request information from the other side.
Yes, what we had one round of discovery with the trial court, and we did not get the evidence that we requested in that discovery. We asked for the manuals of the equipment, the voting equipment, and Travis County and Dana DeBevois said they didn't have the manuals.
Now, most of the elections that are conducted
have it.
nowadays are done electronically. Is that correct?
That's right.
By computer?
That's right, yes.
And any computer can be hacked, can it?
Every single computer can be hacked. Yes.
Doesn't that make it even more important to keep paper ballots, keep the stuff?
Yes, sir. That's why the legislature has in the law, there's 2 backups to what the computer said we voted. One is that ballot image, which is required for the equipment to save, and a ballot is defined by state law as having boxes, all the candidates' names, the name and date of the election, instructions, and the serial number, and that's required by the state constitution. Well, what Travis County produced in the recount did not meet the legal requirements of a ballot. So, first of all, you gotta have a ballot image. Well, they don't have that. Then they're supposed to have this results tape, which is a paper backup. Judges sign it. They turn it into the county and keep it for 22 months. Travis County told their judges, don't print those tapes. So not only is there no ballot image, there's no results tape. And so now we have to just trust what the computer said. And that's corrupted.
I was going to say that was already faulty.
In layman's terms, I'm thinking about the judges, the
Okay.
trial judge's ruling.
Yes, sir.
As I understand it, the rule for summary judgment, which is judgment without trial, is only supposed to
That's
take place after the completion of discovery, after you've gotten all the information
That's
that you
right.
asked for and had a
That's right.
chance to go over it. And it's kind of like a war of, this is the evidence that supports my position, this evidence supports the other position, and the judge kind of decides between the two, decides whether or not
That's right.
there's a factual dispute.
That's exactly right.
But if you have if the evidence has been destroyed, why should that
Or
count?
or
Why should
withheld.
that count? You think it's been withheld?
Well, you know they have manuals. Do you believe that Travis County would not have the operation manuals for $1 million worth of equipment? You know, and if they don't have it, their contract, which we did get a copy of, says they can go and get it from the vendor.
Yeah,
So they have access to it. So, you know, maybe if they had the manual, they could have produced a ballot image. Okay? So, we were denied evidence.
sounds convenient to me. Everything
It's a
sounds
little
real
too convenient, I think. I mean, so we've got millions of dollars of equipment that we purchased as taxpayers, and they don't have the manuals for it?
And these aren't underpaid employees either, are
No,
they?
they're not. No, they're not. So that's, you know, we respectfully disagreed with the judge that he granted the summary judgment, the no evidence summary judgment, and that's part of the appeal brief that we wrote. That please, you know, we did have evidence. Maybe the judge might have disagreed with the quality of the evidence, but we had evidence. So that's part of the appeal that we're trying to get the appeals court, the Third Court of Appeals, to overturn.
Let's say you prevail. What would be the remedy? What would make everything right?
I like that. The remedy is there's no victor. So we need a new election because the only paper ballots that remain, legal ballots, are exactly tied. So we're asking, this is an election contest. So the remedy is we go back and we do a real election. And we either have the equipment do what it's supposed to do, or you go to the contingency plan, which are paper ballots. You know, if the equipment cannot do what it's been bought and if the county doesn't know how to use it and doesn't have the manuals to to operate it correctly, then, you know, a contingency plan is paper ballots. Yeah. And
So-
that would be easy to do because it's a small city council race, 18 precincts, maybe a total of 3,000 to 4,000 voters, and that is not too cumbersome for the county to do.
Would it be too expensive?
Oh, I don't think so. Even mail-in ballots are over 7,000 mail-in ballots. The last, I think, election that we had for the city of Austin, we had over 7,000 ballots cast mail-in, so they know how to manage paper ballots. They know how to do that.
Do you believe that Travis County and perhaps other counties around the United States have a hear no evil, see no evil approach to voter fraud, or they don't believe in it, or what?
No, you know, that's an interesting question. You know, I've been all over the state in the last 10 months talking about this case, and I've been from Midland to Longview, which is East Texas, to Denton, which is North Texas, all the way to Galveston and everything in between. And I've talked to county after county after county. And what everybody's expecting is that these counties are following law. Everybody expects that. That's the default. And if we were following law, there would be no issue. What we want are legal elections that follow the letter of the law in the state of Texas by the statutes and the Constitution on election. There's election code, very simple. And what's happening, we are not following law. Results tapes are not being printed in counties across the state because the Secretary of State is giving waivers to law. Waivers to law. Don't worry, don't print the tapes. It takes too long to print it. It takes too long. So don't print that tape. And that's one of the required backup records.
Streamlined voter fraud?
Well,
You know, I'm still stuck on all them years ago in Houston. I just can't get over that. Didn't.
yeah. Well, there was issues in Houston when those voting machines burned.
All of them overnight.
All of them overnight.
The night
one-
before, it was supposed to be inspected.
Yeah.
So where's the accountability?
That's the question. You know, the Secretary of State's giving these waivers, do not print these tapes, when it may take an hour to 2 hours to print. You know what? People really want the backup records in case something happens. And the reason the statutes are written the way they are is because in case those memory cards or there's equipment that gets damaged, POKEY, you have a record of what the voters voted at the precinct before the equipment leaves the building. And that's what the legislature intended. And the Secretary of State is giving waivers to law, don't print the tapes, all because of countywide polling locations. It takes too long to print that tape. Don't worry, don't do it.
But that's
Well, that's the
withholding
way-
evidence.
That's exactly right. So that's happening all over the state, Mike.
Well, if we have
And people are not, when they learn that, and, you know, we could do this presentation. and
I
all
was
we-
going to ask that. Is anybody else outraged at this?
They're
Or
very outraged. You know, when we do our presentation and we talk to groups, I've talked to Democrat groups, Republican groups, Tea Party groups, Libertarians, Green Party, Women's Republicans clubs, retirees clubs. I go and present to anybody that will have me talk about this. And we show the law, and then we show how it's being broken in their own county, and they are not happy about it. They want the law to be upheld. And this is why we were at the Republican convention, and we got 3 new items added to the platform for the Republican GOP platform for Texas for 2016. 3 items got added this round, and they're all dealing with what we've seen across the state with elections.
What do those items do?
Great question. The first item we got added was we encourage this, let me see how we worded it. We support, you have to be positive, right? We support the Texas Secretary of State strictly enforcing the printing of results tapes at the polling locations before the equipment leaves the building for early voting and election day. How simple, that's in the law. We fully, strongly support the Secretary of State doing that and causing, and the county's adhering to that law. That was the first thing we got. The second thing was language back in the ballot, language back into the platform about paper ballot options. People around the state want paper ballots as an option when
Come
they go
on.
vote. We can't in Travis County.
Going
we
back
don't
to
have a
paper ballots
ballot. Okay, so we want a backup record. We want the real paper ballot. So that we put that language back in. Then the third one is very powerful, and it affects Travis County in a really huge way. The Republican platform for the state now says, this is item 59 in the platform, it says countywide polling locations, we oppose countywide polling locations due to the heightened potential for fraud.
Thank you.
Thank you is right. We have countywide here, and we have a heightened potential
It
for
seems
fraud.
convenient, though. I mean, I can go in anywhere and vote. Doesn't have to be in my precinct or even near my precinct.
I know, and so you don't have the traceability of your voters as a precinct chair, and you're not
That's
printing the
true.
tapes. So, check, right? I mean, we've got to have these backup records, Mike. We have to have them. So now the platform has that, and it really gives a message to the Secretary of State. Step up and start making these counties adhere to law, because the Secretary of State of Texas really is the election official, and if you don't have these checks and balances, the door's open for fraud.
Now,
It's wide open.
we have super majorities in both houses, I believe, and in the
In the legislature?
in the legislature, and we occupy the executive offices.
Yes, we do.
Do you believe that some of this might be taken up by the legislature in the upcoming session
Well,
or sessions?
you know, this is a great question, because, I was in one of the state senators' offices a couple weeks ago, and I was meeting with their chief of staff going through this case, and the legislature, many of the state senators and representatives were not aware this was going on, okay? So this state senator's chief of staff said, well, Dr. Pressley, what legislature changes would you want? And I said, well, I think the laws are there. What we need is the Secretary of State not to tell counties to break law. So can we have a law that says the Secretary of State shouldn't tell counties to break law? And he laughed, but I was very serious, because this is what's happening. The Secretary of State is giving waivers to law, and we want that to stop. We need it to stop for accountability.
Wouldn't there be a role or function for the Attorney General in that process?
You know, that I think there is, and we've had people we've presented to. We've had state senators, we've had state representatives actually contact Attorney General Ken Paxton about this, and so they are investigating right now. They are looking at this, and not just Travis County, but it's going on all over. Any county that has countywide polling locations potentially are getting waivers, and they're not printing those tapes. And we've got to have those tapes. We're in this lawsuit right now. We're up to about $200,000 right now in this lawsuit. And we probably wouldn't be here if we had those tapes.
That's a lot of-
If we had those tapes, we may not even be here.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. So, and I was talking to several state reps about this, and sometimes you make rules and you implement things, and you might not understand what the consequences are. Well, we've shown them what the consequence is, and nothing's changed. And so that's where it's really up to the people. We have to take personal responsibility and go to our county elections administrators and county clerks and say, you will print the tapes. We want to see where the ballot image is. You don't really have it. And so why doesn't the software of these voting equipments, why do they not keep it when they're required to by law?
Or we need to support those who do go to their,
That's right.
I'm thinking of what you told me about Houston, it was in somebody else's county.
Yeah.
We all should, I'd like to ask real quick, I get not upset, but just confused that they keep pushing this voter ID law as a racist and all this stuff, and it clearly isn't. Is this some kind of distraction to maybe make us not look at
Oh, you're so smart.
voter fraud, maybe? Because who in their right mind thinks that having a
Yeah.
picture ID is somehow another restricting the vote?
Right. You know,
That's just ignorance.
I agree with that. I think that, voter ID stuff and, worrying about people who are dead that vote, those are onesie twosies. When you can push a computer button, or you can put on a memory card, a program that says flip the votes 2-1, hundreds of thousands, if not tens of thousands of votes within one strike of a key on a computer, that's the big hitter. Everybody worries about the voter ID stuff or the dead people voting or, maybe people voting once or twice, double. Those are small fry. What's a big hitter is the electronic voting corruption.
And it's real easy for some people to, what was that I mentioned earlier, Mike, the communist guy? It doesn't matter who casts the vote.
It matters who counts it.
It matters who counts the vote. That makes it easy to do if your computer whiz.
That's right. And we don't get to see how they're counted.
Well, it really doesn't matter if you're in a socialist environment.
We're about there now, so we could be just a few months away from one anyway.
Laura,
The reason we focused on the platform, the Republican platform, is that it is a mandate to the legislators and the governor and the lieutenant governor and also Ken Paxton. Because, I was there at the convention and there were 4,500 delegates that voted on this platform, and that election integrity language passed at 90%. This is a mandate. When 90% of 4,500 delegates say we want to restore
Yes, that is.
election integrity in Texas.
And every plank was
we need
voted
to
on this
listen.
time, huh?
Huh?
Every plank was voted on by the
I
entire.
know. That was and it was hour. It took some people an hour to do it, to vote through it.
I bet.
Yeah, I was at the convention from Monday through Saturday.
Well, it wouldn't have been the other party would do that because the other party spelled with the voter ID stuff
Well,
on their platform. So, they're not looking at voter integrity. They're looking at,
well, I might.
we're all racist because we want a picture ID.
Well, I think everybody wants fair elections.
I do too.
Everybody.
Even the other
does.
party. They just don't know it yet.
That's where the balance is. That's where the balance in our government system is, because you can vote in and you can vote them out, and you can have this many people supporting this this position, and you always have that discussion and debate, and you can change ideas, change people's opinions and stuff. But when the balance is gone, and when a small
Yeah.
portion of a position is being represented and the masses don't have their voice, the balance doesn't exist, and people do not like that.
System
They
breaks
don't
in.
like it.
well, and it's not fair as a voter for my vote not to have counted.
That's right.
Not when I took the opportunity I had to go vote and took the
Yes.
time out to do it and willingly did it, and then you say that my vote didn't count because you
There's no backup to prove.
you
whether
failed at
voted.
counting it?
That's right. That's right. And the legislature had these checks and balances in place. You've got to have the tape, you've got to have the ballot image, and we don't have either. In Travis County, in many counties, we don't have either one.
Well, what I find interesting is those same people who say that voter ID laws would be discriminatory are saying count every vote.
That's true. Yeah. Count every
Right,
vote.
That's
count every
right.
vote,
Sometimes
Everybody-
twice.
but make sure it's done by a human.
It's done correctly. That's right. It's done accurately.
That's true.
Election integrity is the most important thing in our country. And we've had veterans, as yourself, Pokey, who
That's it.
have sacrificed, and they didn't
I
expect
watched a lot of
this.
pots and pans on that aircraft carrier,
You
no doubt
did,
about it.
and we thank you for it.
Well, my problem is this: you need identification to cash a check at the grocery
Well,
store,
come on,
at the
Mike.
bank, to drive a car.
Yes.
and voting is said to be so important, but you don't have to identify yourself.
Yeah.
You can bring a cow to the poll with a name.
Yeah, I have,
Let Ben vote.
this is really important. I have people who have traveled around a bit to understand the United States is one of the few or only countries that we've had so many change of power without firing a shot.
That's right.
If you look around the world, I mean, it just doesn't happen all the time.
That's right.
A lot of countries are in, but when this kind of stuff here, when you start denying the people, as we're seeing now with, I really do think it's going to be a colorful season at both parties. I think are going to have trouble inside and out of their conventions.
Well,
I think Chicago '68 is going to be a picnic compared to what we're liable to see.
yeah. You know, one of the state senators that
I hate to say that, but
I know.
I don't know what y'all would see coming up here, but
But think about this, Pokey. If the elections are not valid, the results that we get reported, you know, I had a state senator's chief of staff tell me 2 weeks ago. He said, "Okay, Laura, if the Uber vote fails, I know you're right." Okay, that's what they told
it
me.
failed.
That's what
We
they
got a whole nother theory about that we'll go on to later on some other
it
time.
failed, right? And I'll tell you what, I got, I don't know, a flyer a day from the people supporting that. I didn't
Yeah.
get one flyer.
They spent all that money to support it.
They did, and I got
Everybody-
not one flyer from the opposition.
And they still,
And the opposition won somehow. Okay, I've had
and
a lot of,
by a good margin too, if I recall.
yes, and I don't believe it. I don't, and other people don't believe it too.
Well, you know what we were talking about, so we might talk about that some other time,
I mean, that is amazing.
about something that's happened since then.
Yeah, you got it.
So what do we do when the lawmakers don't uphold the law?
Well, that's a
Get
good.
rid of them.
Well, if we can't.
If we
get
can't
rid of
vote 'em
them,
out.
right, if you can't vote them out, that's where the issue is.
So
That's why we need
some people
guns.
may,
Well, that's what they say. If you can't use the ballot box, you resort to the what box? The cartridge box.
The cartridge box.
Which man, you're talking a nightmare. Seriously, it will be
I don't advocate that.
No.
What I do is I say
you are fighting. This is the way to fight
we're
it.
fighting in the courts where it should be fought. And I've had several people come up and tell me, "Well, my election was stolen, a couple years ago," and I'm like, "Well, what do we do about it?" And I'll tell you one thing: this electronic voting is very complex, and it takes somebody with some computer knowledge and persistence and can read the legal code and understand it, because it's not that complicated. It's really not. It's meant for it. We're supposed to be able to read it. It's plain English. And go use the court system. And I firmly believe the Third Court of Appeals is going to do the legal thing, do the right thing. And we need that here in Travis County. And our case is
In the whole state, in the whole country,
Our
probably.
case is only dealing with Travis County, right?
Well,
With
if
this
they
little
see it happen
election.
here, maybe.
Well, but it will set case law, and it will put
Yes.
other counties on notice around the
Yes.
state who might be concerned or might not know that what they're doing is not exactly, the best from a checks and balance standpoint. And, it will have that effect, but we have to deal with this in Travis County. I've been all over the state talking about this case, and I've had many counties tell me, "Well, we knew Travis County was stealing elections for the last 10 years. We've known it." Well, who no one told me? Okay? They all knew it. And so it's got to be dealt with. And we've
Right.
got to call it like we see it, and let the courts make the right decision. And so, in our case, this is an interesting little tidbit. We got sanctioned $40,000 for a frivolous lawsuit. Okay? Well, we disagree that it's frivolous, right? And we were told in the courtroom that.
You're talking about the trial court or
This was in the
appellate
sanctions
court?
hearing. Sanctions.
On
in the
sanctions
trial, at the trial level. So we got sanctioned $40,000 for a frivolous lawsuit. And
Wow.
what was said in the courtroom, Marilyn, was that they wanted to chill any other candidate in the state from ever bringing a lawsuit against these electronic voting machines ever again.
Oh, hell no.
Oh, they said it. They
Oh,
said it.
hell
They
no.
said- So, and there was a deal on the table. The lawyer for my opponent and my lawyer were up talking to the judge at the summary judgment hearing. And it was said that they would not pursue the sanctions if we would not appeal.
So they know you had a case.
Can I stop you and ask you something right here? Did you
Yes,
have
sir.
supporters in the courtroom with you there?
The court reporter was there, but
No,
this
the
was,
supporters,
Your
was
supporters.
it packed?
You mean for the oral argument in the appeals court?
no, for all of them, I guess.
for the summary judgment hearing, we had people in the audience.
I guess what I'm saying is that the one thing I do know besides, what is it, dilatory tactics, is if you fill that courtroom, if that judge and that lawyers all look out there and see a packed courtroom, it does make a difference. And if they know that there's packed, plus there's people in the hallway looking at this case, that makes a difference.
Yes.
Well, in the appeals court, we did have people very interested, because and we didn't even ask for
I
oral.
pushed it as much as I could.
Thank you. We didn't ask for oral argument. Neither side even asked for it, Mike. We didn't ask for it because it's expensive, and we wanted to save funds, right? But the court demanded it, so we had to do it. It was expensive, and our supporters were like, well, we want to show up. So they came.
That's good. That
it
does
can-
make a difference.
It does, we were very grateful for that. And, back to the sanctions, the deal was on the table. They would not pursue the sanctions if we would not appeal. And we said, this is dishonest. This is not legal. We have to do the right thing. And, my husband and I we had a decision to make. Where we step up and take personal responsibility, or do we step back and be a victim? And we said, we're going to step up and be responsible, because I know I won that election. All the data said I won it.
Well, I believe this has
Okay.
gone beyond
Instead of-
whether your personal election too, though.
Well,
This
we're
is
focused
sort of
on
a
Travis
bigger picture now than just,
Well, we're
Yes.
focused on this case. That's what this is about. And if it has an ancillary effect for, going forward, and maybe these counties in Travis County, maybe the Secretary of State needs a little guidance from the appeals court of what's legal. Because they're interpreting it, we think, incorrectly.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
That is amazing. Well, I'm just so glad that you're going to be that standard bearer, because we need that. And it's amazing how, we hear all the time that all eyes are on Texas.
That's
But
right, they are.
we really need to
right.
set the standard for Travis County for being the capital of this state.
That's right.
And all the other counties, can you imagine, Laura, what the outcome is going to do to bring the hope to other counties, to other candidates?
like you said earlier, this could set case precedents for the whole
Yes,
state.
it can.
Well, there needs to be some guidance given, and we think the Secretary of State is giving Travis County bad legal advice, and we need the appeals court to kind of look at all the evidence, look at all the information, look at the statutes, look at the Constitution of the state that says you got to have a serial number on the ballot, and they don't have it. They're counting things that are not ballots. You cannot do that.
This
Where
could,
did they come from, right? You cannot do that.
this could be part of the people are sick of both parties, because Third Court of Appeals, that's pretty much my people, ain't it?
Your people.
As in
They are.
Republicans,
Well, the judges are David Puryear, Justice David Puryear, Melissa Goodwin.
I
and
believe they've all
Scott
been on this
Field.
show at one time or another.
I'm sure they have.
Scott
And
Fields,
Scott
didn't we even go
Field.
party with him one time with Cargill?
Did y'all party with him?
No, that was way back. Cargill was with us, I know, and I think my sister-in-law. Remember, Ma? Was that?
Great. They're good. They're good judges.
think
They're
that was Scott
very
Field.
good judges, and they're very.
We had to stay in the corner, trailer park style.
It's amazing. So we're looking forward.
Yeah, I
to
thought,
it.
so if they don't, this is, I wouldn't hope they wouldn't start acting like, the other party now and just kind of sweep it under the rug.
I trust they're going to do the legal thing, and that's what we need them to do.
But what if they come out and say you're wrong and all this?
Well, we're gonna. I don't think.
Well, best, but you do have a reputation now for pushing things.
Really?
Yeah. I can't believe we don't have fluoride. We still got fluoride in the water after all you went through that.
Well, we can't replace our city council.
A lot of people say
can't
that
do
you're
it.
just complaining because you lost a race.
Oh, I know.
You've lost a race, get over it.
I know
What do you
that-
tell them?
Well, that part is kind of, if that affects somebody, it's because their ego is too big. And what I tell my ego when I start hearing that stuff, take a back seat, because we got work to do. We've got work to make legal elections happen in Travis County. I need to have a new election because what they did was not legal. And so I just, that's, people can say that, but you know what? I don't pay attention to it. I focus on what's right, what's honest, what's truthful, and what's legal, and what the statutes say. And Travis County is not adhering to statutes. It's in our brief, it's in all our lawsuit information, and we're going to keep pressing that.
And Laura, what do you think it would do and be like if the many others that have suffered the same thing would stand up and would begin to take that place like you do, like you're doing? But they would begin to let their voices be heard, and take a stance on it.
Yeah.
What would it be like?
We'd have fair elections in this state and across this county because, when good people don't stand up and they're more concerned about their ego, POKEY, and they're more concerned about what people say instead of doing the right thing, that's where we fall. And I'll tell you what I've seen across the state is I've coined this phrase called fraud of choice. Isn't that interesting?
Fraud of choice.
Yeah, instead of drug of choice, fraud of
What is
choice.
a fraud of
So
choice?
each
That is a
county
good-
is
that is a
each
good-
county's different. Some
Yes.
have their counties still do paper.
I like my new saying that's streamlined fraud. Streamlined voter fraud.
That's right. So look at this, Gillespie County, where Fredericksburg is, they use paper.
They do?
They use paper.
I was saving that for my
Look
civic
at Bell
duty
County.
speech.
Bell County, right north of
Or,
us.
yeah, Belton Temple.
Paper ballots. And if there's fraud going on there, there's certain ways you could do it.
That's a fairly populated county, too. It's,
Bell County's pretty big.
It is.
So I call it
Colleen
fraud.
as well in Bell
Colleen's, it's
County.
in Bell County.
I
Fort
call it,
Hood.
I call it fraud of choice. And so each place is going to have a specific method that, maybe some adversary knows how to do.
No wonder the
Yes.
Democrats feel so comfortable here.
Oh, yes.
And so you have to deal with
I
that.
can't
one
talk
by
bad
one.
about them. I'm inviting them on the show, so I don't want them to. There.
Yeah. So we would have fair and honest elections if people would step up, not worry about what someone's going to say, worry about their ego, do the right thing. And that's what we
I know
that's what we
Richard
need.
Franklin complained a lot, too, didn't he? Sounded like he might have had a legitimate.
Speaking of Richard, I think Richard was a bit taken aback by the results in his race.
Yeah.
Now I know Richard campaigned hard. I know
He
that.
did. He's in my neighborhood.
And-
I'm in that.
And
precinct.
I think Richard said to me that he lost his own neighbor. He lost his own
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
like he had taken an informal poll of his own,
Yeah.
and people out there didn't really know his opposition, but they really knew him.
He's been around forever.
Yeah. So what's unique about our case is we have so much data, and we've got, things that Travis County did wrong. And I'll tell you what, in his race, he has the same issue I had. Why isn't he contesting the election? Why isn't he doing a recount? Why aren't other candidates?
Probably
why-
because of the-
Probably money.
Yeah,
well,
money.
I didn't have the money either when I started out. But I'll tell you what, we've gone around the state raising funds for this because people care about it. And things happen, and,
I get $1. Something.
I didn't have the funds either when we started. And I'll tell you what, people want fair elections, and there were multiple candidates in this primary that we know there were issues with their races, and we showed them the data, we showed them that there was a problem, and they would not step up.
I wish they would have.
Me too.
Because
Me too.
then the people would have really, really began to, contribute to what, to the good cause of what it should be like. I mean, I really wish they would have come on board with you, Laura, because it would have been so much better if all these other candidates would have stepped up to the plate.
I'll ask Mr. Lee, would this be something that could maybe be a class action lawsuit?
It can't, because it's a contest.
Okay.
It can't. And there's a
Taking all
timeline
up.
for it. And there's a
Oh.
timeline for it. You have to do it with a certain time frame.
Let's take
So
all the candidates
it
and I
can't
think
be,
to.
you can't sue the Secretary of State, you can't sue the county. They have
Okay, class
immunity.
action lawsuit, it's a liability
Yes.
thing.
The NAACP
Never mind,
tried
see, I don't
it.
even know what a class action lawsuit is.
You gotta show
One of the
harm.
things-
You have to show harm.
One of the things I found interesting was there's a place where during the course of my career, I used to work at a place called Judicial Watch in Washington,
Great box.
D.C.,
Yes.
which is a conservative public interest law firm. And they apparently published a report called an Election Integrity Project Report. And I think the executive director is Tom Fitton. I know Tom. Tom started at Judicial Watch when I started back in the
Holy cow.
latter 90s, later part of 1990s. And they point out some interesting things that there's such thing as a National Voter Registration Act that was passed in 93 that requires that states do certain things like check the voter list. Take, if someone's dead, remove them from the voter list. And they've encountered resistance in removing dead people from voter rolls,
Oh, my God.
which is insane.
Fraud of choice,
Exactly.
okay?
Well, I'm gonna get
Some
me a,
counties use this, some counties use ballot by mail, they don't, they stuff the ballot box, they do vote harvesting, some do electronic. It is fraud of choice.
well, I'm gonna get me an ego going on here now. I just realized it. The Trailer Park Show got a lawyer from Judicial Watch on? And we're friends. And I just
didn't
now
know
thinking that you come a long way, ain't we? From a bunch of old dump truck drivers to.
No, I'm looking at, there's some things I wanted to point out in this report. And I once worked on a report of this nature. I worked on the impeach President Clinton report.
Did you?
Yeah, we spent
You
Wow.
did.
we spent 42 hours, 42 consecutive hours at the office. We didn't go home. We stayed all night,
Wow.
ate there and all that. But one of the things that's pointed out in this Judicial Watch report is that voter ID regulations are wildly popular in this country and are the world standard. A September 2013 poll by the Bipartisan Policy Center / USA Today found that 82% of those polled support voter ID, including 72% of black voters, 83% of Hispanic voters, and 70% of Democrats. But you'll never hear that on TV.
No, you won't.
When you talk about voter identification, act like black people are being persecuted.
Yep, it's racist Republicans.
I know it. Everybody wants integrity in their elections. I don't care which
Yes.
side you're on.
I thought
Yes.
Everybody.
I like the way Tom them also pointed out who the opposition was.
Oh boy, let's hear this.
The NAACP, League of Women Voters, LULAC, Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights Under Law, Demos, Project Vote, the George Soros-funded Media Matters for America. That's who's opposed to voter identification.
Some of those are far left, like Media Matters and all that. They're not just left, they're
Well,
They
my-
created left.
my concern
way
is,
out there left.
who's interested in the truth?
The public.
I never known Media Matters to be interested in the
The
truth.
public is interested in the truth.
And I guess it's the public that have to demand that the county and the Secretary of State uphold the law.
That's right.
I mean, if it's
That's
writ,
right.
if the law has been written for that purpose, if you can't sue the state or the county, then what can you do to sue for the law not being upheld?
It's a, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, Marilyn. You have to hold, people have to step up, challenge these elections, and do the right thing, and talk to their state reps. We have several state reps and state senators who are on board with what's happening. The election, we've met with members of the election committee of the legislature, and they didn't realize people were not happy with what was going on, because they're being told everything's rosy, where everything is not rosy.
Yes.
When you have an election contest costing $200,000 because of what their policies that they think are
Are
okay,
you gonna talk, Ma?
Wow.
right? Yeah.
I knew she'd have something to say.
She's the woman. She's
Hello.
the woman.
Hello, people. As you see, I finally did it, dyed it purple. I love it. Matches her dress.
Matches my dress.
Yeah.
That's our
We ma-
producer
we're all
show. That's our
matchy today.
producer.
So
We were
Mike, I
talking-
want to ask you your opinion on electronic, no, this report is very thorough. And it was done in 2014? When was it done?
2014, I believe, is what Tom them
2014.
says.
2014. But it does not deal with electronic voting fraud.
No,
It doesn't.
this is summer of 2014.
Yeah.
I remember not too long ago where they were gonna talk to the Secretary of State and possibly not have them certify those machines without a printer next to them. Did that just fall out, or?
Texas has never certified the machines that have the printer next to
Well,
it.
there was a group that was trying to get
Vote
that.
Rescue was trying to do that. Vote Rescue's here in Austin, and,
They're all over, aren't they?
no, it's just Austin. True the Vote.
True the Vote, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, and we've met with True the Vote and gone through the issues of this case, where the tapes aren't being printed, no ballot image, and they were not aware of that. True the Vote was not aware of it.
And it was weird that you were talking about those printouts that couldn't be found because
She
that's
did a
just-
lot of poll judge.
Well, I've been an election judge at the
Election
poll
judge.
stations.
When's the last time you were a judge?
Been a while.
been a
Since
while
I
for-
started HEB.
So they stopped printing tapes in Austin and Travis County in 2012 was the last year. The primaries when they last printed them.
Where we would print them at the, off the box and leave them
They don't do that
attached.
anymore.
Well, it's more important to
what I'm
save.
saying.
It's of course more important to save trees than it is to have a genuinely honest election process.
Well, this is a tree hugging city.
Opens the door for fraud.
Well, you see
Yes.
all our,
Don't have
all
the
our
backup
trees
record.
back here. We hug our trees back here. We don't want to cut down our trees.
I'm thinking if Ma knew what judicial watch was, she'd be as excited as I am. We're really moving up here. I'm just stuck on that.
What?
He used to be a lawyer at
He's
Judicial
famous.
Watch.
He's famous.
He helped with the
just a
impeachment
guy.
of Clinton and all that.
Whoa. Woo!
And you get mad as me,
We
I'm
tried.
Stinky Jesse. Jesse called earlier and he's got a picture of us. He used to come on the show, the dump truck driver, helped me get my first truck, and he used to come on the show back in '02 and all that stuff. Back when, anyway. And now look where we've come.
Well, I just like the direction that we've taken after the dump truck driver show was over.
So what would you think if you were told not to print the tapes on election night as a judge? What would you be thinking?
I would be wondering why.
Because it takes too long.
No, it doesn't.
Thank you.
You hit the button, it bzzz,
just,
it spits it right out.
And if the Secretary of State thought that it took too long, then why didn't they just charge you to make the prints?
What do you mean?
I mean, I'm just saying, so if they're printing paper and if they think it's such a problem to do that, then,
It's like, let me tell you that you have veterans who sacrificed up to their lives. And judges don't want to print the tapes.
Now, do they still
I'm
print them
sorry,
out and
it's
hang them
not
up?
good enough. No. they
Yeah, it's
don't.
kind of a slap
They
in the
don't hang
face.
them up at the precinct level either?
No, ma'am.
My last step was at the substation. And yeah, we used to hang them up on the wall there, so the press and everybody come look at them.
Right.
Then they quit.
They quit doing it.
Yeah, and that's
Takes
just
too
been
long,
recently.
Pokey. Takes too long, don't worry.
Well, now they don't
Okay, well,
even.
now I'm just gonna tell you, just go over to that machine and punch in 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't have to give you your little ticker anymore.
That's right.
So I'm just gonna make up a number and you can just put it in that machine and away you go. That's ridiculous. Now, you have a bunch of announcements to make, I know, so,
But that's only after since Mr. Fernandez isn't here.
but I don't care, but
Jillian
there's
from Los
four,
Texas, right?
there's 4 announcements
Oh,
for
you're
you
gonna
to
put them on the
make.
screen?
Yes, you
Thanks, ma'am.
can read them. So about 10 till, and then you can wrap up.
So I
Can you,
mean,
hey,
what's
can
10
we,
till now?
can we zoom in on this? Can you zoom in on this? This is where the election judges
Hold
are
it up
told,
here.
election
Okay, okay.
judges are told not to print the tape. Okay, can we show that? This is what we got in our lawsuit. See if we can zoom in.
Oh, Nate's in there? Natie's in there?
Yeah, she's in there.
She can flip it over when you get it done in.
Be completed.
Oh,
Okay.
10 till, it is 10 till.
There we are. So look at here.
Do not print tally,
Do
number 7.
do not print the tally. This is what judges were told. And we have election judges, Republican and Democrat judges right now that are be giving these envelopes. Scoot to the top up here, see if we can see the top of it. It says Judges Booth Controller Report envelope.
JBC report, yeah.
JBC, you remember the JBCs?
Yeah, yeah,
Do not print the tally, Pokey, look at there.
sure enough.
Don't print that backup record.
Balance your counts.
They don't want to know the results of the.
Yeah, you have to print it out just to close the machine out.
Yeah, 'cause you gotta balance your number of signatures with the number there.
Right, what they do now, they print an access code report of just what,
How
The
many you just issued?
how many voters. But
But half of them get thrown away too.
you've got to print the tally so you know how many votes each candidate got
My
before the
goodness.
equipment leaves the building.
my
Well,
goodness.
it's already
And they don't have it.
It's already 10 till.
Yeah. Why don't they have it?
I didn't get into my civics thing, but I don't even like early voting. If you're out of town, there's always been a way you could do that.
Yeah.
Election day used to be a civic day. You came home and you tucked in your shirt, and you got the family, and you went down and voted.
That's right.
And you see your neighbors there and everything. It was a community. It was your civic duty.
Yeah.
I mean,
Early voting's a big issue. It is.
yeah. And now I'm starting to embrace it. I always early vote now. It's convenient. You go anywhere. Who cares?
Yeah.
I need to start caring, huh?
Well, I have a special concern because in this Judicial Watch election integrity project, it indicated that in some states they had more registered voters than people.
Oh yeah, we've heard a lot of that. No, what the heck is all that about?
That doesn't work, does it?
But it goes on, and whoever does it, whoever won. They don't kick him out of office or anything.
How can we really expose this?
And what I really find interesting is they're always trying to Europeanize us, but Europe, all the nations in Europe, they have voter ID laws.
Because I'm supposed to go with it.
We don't want to take that one though.
Mike and Cargill, come and talk it every Sunday, 4 o'clock. Tune him in, folks. It really is a good radio program. He's got it going on over there.
It's a good show.
It is a good show. Yeah, this is Dean Wright's coming up with this stuff. I don't quite understand federalism versus nationalism. It's at the same address as the get out of my state thing. Same address, same time. So I think it's a combined effort thing. Texas Public Policy Foundation, they've been, I used to go to this, but I can't hardly get out and do anything anymore.
Just the
It
parking
takes me
too.
30, 45 minutes just to get out the door now.
Well, we got to get a parking spot downtown.
In this case, I highly suggested you take the bus, take Capital Metro. You're paying for it. Get on it and find out what it's like. They got a real good website that you can put in your destination and your address and your destination, and it tells you and time and date, and it tells you everything to do. This is the thing I was telling you about where me and Ma want to start doing a comedy show too. Guns and Giggles down there in Central Texas with Cargill. It's a really good. Hey, we're better to take your date than a stand-up comedy show. It's they'll feed you. It's a BYOB thing. It's reasonably priced. It keeps your money right here local. Oh, this is really, really important stuff here.
Yeah.
Because, I really like Isaac Rowe and the work he's doing with the community, with the young men, all young men. He mostly focuses on the black community, but hey, Hispanic, white, young men want to be good fathers. And this is a family cookout, and be there. This is really, really good. I can't praise this enough. It was really good last year. I wasn't there, but I've seen a bunch of pictures. They got the He-Man competition, and Gabriel came in like second or third from me. He wasn't last.
Tired thing.
Yeah. He wasn't last. He was 2 or 3 up from the bottom. So
That's pretty good.
it is, considering his age and his size and the young men that were there. And he showed them. He gave a run for their money. And that's a big old tire. You got to hump it over. It would kill me, of course, but I know it's a good thing to do, and you need to get out there and do that. Julian Lamone Fernandez, Los Texas Wranglers, he's got something coming up in about 2 weeks, and I'll probably have something more on that on the flyer and Facebook page. A sobriety thing, sober, whatever it is, coming up on Sargosa Park. So that'll be good too. And you know Julian, Los Texas Wranglers. He's always been involved in the community. He's done a lot of fundraisers for everybody. It's been good stuff. Okay, we still got about 4 or 5 minutes. 4 minutes?
You have a good community, Pokey.
3 minutes. I'd like to push more of this stuff. I know what Dean Wright was doing there is good stuff too.
Yeah.
I'm surprised she doesn't get on more on board with your with voter
Oh, he
fraud
totally
stuff.
supports us. They totally support us. They do. We have a lot of groups supporting us right now. across the
So how can we expose this?
We have to encourage candidates that think there are problems to actually step up.
Well, then they're just gonna call them, sore losers or something.
And you tell the ego to take a back seat, and you do
If you
the
got it
right
for real
thing.
thing, yeah.
Okay, you do the right thing, because if you believe what you're doing, it will come out. Okay, you take the ego. Ego is just like you're
just
in
don't-
charge. The ego's not in charge.
Yeah,
Put him in the back seat.
but you see, people, I'm still stuck on Houston. I mean, that was just such a blatant And nobody, that should have made national news. It should have been a big court case or something.
Well.
I mean, what was the details there? They said, all right, in the morning, we're gonna examine the machines, and at night, a mysterious fire burns every one of them?
Yeah,
Duh!
yeah.
Because True the Vote and what's that other Keat Street Patriots were pushing a lawsuit like you're doing. And they wanted to look at these machines, and so they finally relented. And it just happens that
they burn up.
they're in a warehouse that's got all this fire prevention stuff in it.
That's
Yeah.
why the candidate piece really is the way to go.
Is it?
That's where the candidate piece is it. And we have to be there to support these candidates and speak out when the press is mean and not accurate in how they're characterizing these lawsuits. We have to step up and help them. We have to step up and be there behind them, have their back. And I'm here to help any candidate going forward all across the state. I've had candidates call me, and I give them advice. I talk to them about our case and look at their cases and see if they want to pursue it. So I'm here to help, and that's what we've got to help each other.
Well, in 2 minutes, what do you think of King Street Patriots and them True the Vote? Are those kind of groups good?
True the Vote is a good group. They cannot help us financially because they're a 501c3, so they're not. They can't help candidates. But we've given them some insight into how things are happening from an electronic standpoint, where there's no tapes, there's no ballot image, and these waivers that are being given all across the state by the Secretary of State. They were not aware of this. POKEY.
Does it
So
help?
now they are.
Does it help to get to? I know I'd like to see my party get more poll watchers.
Yeah.
Would that kind of thing help?
It does help at the main computer.
It's hard enough to get anybody to even be involved in the election.
Well, I think people don't trust the election system, so that's why there's less.
Well, I was going to stick up for my party. You say our poll judges did the same mistake, but we got so few of them, and then when you get some, but they're not experienced. They really don't know how this stuff works.
Yeah.
I'm sure they're trying their best.
Well, all the judges try their best. They have to be told.
We're lucky to have them because it's so hard to get them.
Right, that's right.
And they volunteer.
And
They get paid, but
they get paid,
not
and
much.
then you give them. Then the county gives them an envelope, tells them not to print the tape. Okay.
And they don't know any better, so they just figure, okay, that's part of the, it says right there on JVC.
Perhaps they should stand
Uh-oh.
up.
We got a
No
minute,
evidence summary, no
45
evidence.
seconds.
Tell me.
Go ahead, you can speak, we got 30 seconds.
No, I'm just marveling
That's why we're
at
appealing.
that piece of
Mike, that's why we're
evidence that
appealing.
was put on the TV.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was
yeah,
evidence. That's
don't
evidence,
print out the stuff.
The judge wants to toss the case, and there's print right there saying, "Don't print the tape.
makes it easy
Break
to
the
do.
law. Break the law, but you have no case. No case."
Well, anyway, 10
And this was
seconds, we'll be back
frivolous.
next week, folks.
It's insane.
Yeah, tune us in, we appreciate you
I've
coming on,
always
Laura,
said
but
the
we'll have you on
problem is
again
the
as
judges.
time goes by.
If the judges
Thank
would
you,
enforce the
Laura.
law,
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us. Thank you.
10-4, bye-bye, everybody, bye-bye.
in a couple of days.